Welcome to Cultivating Victory Live. Our guest today is Miss Libby Hamilton, who is one of my older friends. We go back a long way. I met Libby as an undergraduate at New Mexico State University. We were both in the vocational horticulture program, preparing to teach at that time. And it took a special kind of mission to go through an ag ed program in the middle of the 1980s when everybody was getting out of agriculture. Farms were closing down. The National Guard was being sent in to foreclose on farms. And most of you know I went into research from there, but I taught for a couple of years and then went into ag and environmental research. But Libby stayed in the game and taught agriculture at Coronado High School in El Paso, Texas, and at Gadsden High School in southern New Mexico for altogether off and on for about 30 years. In the middle of this, she raised, she basically built the horticulture program at Gadsden High. She raised a special needs child and family during this time, and she continues to support agricultural education by helping new teachers get going at Gadsden High School. She's going to talk to us today about why and how we make these kinds of agricultural education programs succeed in our community. So Libby, I'm really thrilled to have you with us today, and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Mary was right. Back in the 1980s, I just had a passion. My family came from a farming background in Brighton, Colorado, and I saw some of the issues that they had and the struggles that they had throughout their career. And unfortunately, at this time, they have sold the farm. And so I kind of took the horticulture side and thought, well, let's get into greenhouse management. Let's start studying soil. Let's see what we can do to get our young population involved in trying to bring, you know, this farming and the soil and the nutrients and this concept of sustainability and growing your food. We all eat. So that was kind of my passion. That's kind of where I got involved in trying to get the younger generation to understand this concept of growing for yourself, growing for your family, reaching out into the community, teaching other people. So we started with developing a greenhouse, and we did some, you know, bedding plants, we did house plants, but also teaching side by side some of how to do a farm. And during this time, I mean, Mary was right, you know, I taught for 30 years on and off. When I returned back to Gadsden in 2006, the school actually started raising or developing a new program and new facility. So once again, we started from ground one. We did put in a greenhouse, 30 by 30, which was a little bit smaller than what we had been used to. But we also developed land or area to do raised flower beds. And we also installed a display garden. And that's where the students started learning about vegetables, what to plant, herbs, and how important it is to keep our soil fertile or nutritious. This whole concept of, you know, having a healthy soil develops healthy produce, develops healthy people. And I think it's working really well. I'm continuing, like Mary said, to be involved with a horticulture program at Gadsden High School. Last week, I was involved with the teacher writing a new grant, and he is going to put in a hydroponic system. So once again, the students will be learning, you know, hydroponics is very sensitive. You have to keep the nutrients and the minerals. Right before I had retired, there was a little bit of rumor that they were going to close the program. So that really encouraged me to get more community support. We started holding meetings. We now have a meeting once a month at the school with local farmers in the area, and they are lending their support. But it's also developing those relationships that we need to build awareness of eating healthy and building our soils and what we can do, what each individual can do to bring that awareness to the forefront. We also started a recycling program at the school. I started at the last 2 years that I was there, and just recently they've made the paper. All of the supplies and equipment have been delivered to the school, and so they're in the process of, you know, working on the recycling program. With that, there's hopes of starting composting, to where the students can actually start composting some of the materials there at the school and being able to sell to the community. So, you know, starting through education, I think this is just a must of educating our young people and getting them involved and helping them, teaching them how to make these connections within the community is how we're going to make change.
When students come into your programs,
Mm-hmm.
what knowledge do they bring with them, and what do you see advance and develop as they go through?
Well, a lot of the students do not come from, you know, a farming background. You know, we're a rural area, but a lot of their families might be in it, but there are very few because, you know, they've been dropping out as well. When they leave, we've had, I think Mr. Quiroga told me last week, there were 5 students who now are involved and who have actually implemented gardening at their home, starting to do a composting. They started out with composting, and then 3 of them out of the 5 actually had a garden this summer. And that really speaks highly, because this is only Ramon's 2nd year. And when he started a year and a half ago, he actually started in September, late September, when school started in August. So he was already a month behind. So I'm really proud of the progress that he has made, and, you know, the awareness that he has brought to his students, and the excitement and the encouragement that the students are starting to feel now. Along those same lines, since he's got 5 students that are already involved in, you know, growing and being conscious of composting and wanting to grow their own vegetables and produce, Ramon and I are going to be working this spring to develop a farmer's market there at the school, for all of the students, the local community members, helping make those connections, networking systems within the community to help support our community. You know, we have beekeepers that can sell their honey. We have farmers that can sell their alfalfa. We have students that will be able to sell their product. Ramon we installed, before I left, 5 raised flower beds, and Ramon, you know, can have a project, those students can have project and sell the produce at the farmer's market. And I really see that, you know, taking off.
Now, tell us a little bit about kind of the economic surroundings. What difference, how would a farmer's market benefit the Anthony community?
Well, first of all, I think the biggest part is being able to connect with people in the community. I mean, I think that's really good, but we need to support each other. You know, with the economy the way it is, we could be self-sustaining. The people need to support other people, and I think the revenue would go up. I think there's possibilities. Industry has come to that area. We have a local farmer that's put in a hydroponic system as well that is going to start growing chili. That person that is in the industry is going to provide field trips for the area, internship programs. The school, I see in the future actually offering internships during the summertime, and that's going to build the economy of the community.
A question coming in from Suzanne Ricketts.
Nice to meet you and hear what your story is. I just had the thought that we so often, we talk sometimes about how the connections made in youngsters as they learn these things, the younger the better. And I think it's not only valuable to continuing on in growing things, but just in life in general, and making connections in relationship between ideas and thoughts and not just gardening and food. I think it's beneficial just in life in general. I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Along those lines too, you know, we thought that it started at the high school. Actually, when I started teaching, there was another teacher at the elementary level, and he was very into, you know, the gardening and developing that. And he kind of did kind of like a therapy with the kids, you know, as an opportunity or an avenue for those kids to express themselves creatively, to develop work ethic, to talk to people in the community about their produce. He's done a phenomenal job. He's also put in a display garden so people in the community can go and look at his display gardens. He's got everything labeled. So we're making those connections too. You know, as in education, sometimes we just get so separated and so in our classroom, and we don't really take half the time or take the time to go out and see what's happening. So this is going to be a beautiful transition. You know, you'll have something at the elementary level. You'll have something maybe at the middle school. The middle school also works with a local community, La Semilla, and they did raised flower beds with them. So just having this easy transition, some of these students into, you know, our mission and what we are trying to accomplish as a school and a community is huge.
Right. And, you know, just, Libby, I'd like to throw in that I understand a lot of the agricultural programs statewide and probably nationwide have really suffered under recent educational policies. The focus is very much on developing those basic skills in core classes. What do you see evolving as these programs build their community networks? How does that kind of change the game in terms of what you can expect for program sustainability?
Well, I think, you know, building this stuff is only going to be beneficial for the students. I mean, they have proven hands down. I mean, all of this testing, you can look at school and some of these programs are being taken out of the school. And I think it's very detrimental to our students because I think that the students develop all kinds of skills. It's all hands-on. We've done research within the last 10 years that people that, or students that are in career education, where they have an opportunity to do real life or experience real life projects, problems, they're able to test higher. So I think, you know, these programs are very necessary. It's unfortunate that our education system can't see that they actually learn a lot of life skills in your math and communicating and building these relationships and looking at science, you know, when you're doing the hydroponic system and looking at your nutrients. And I think these programs are going to help, and it's going to help the community and maybe inspire other students into businesses. You know, I think we just are going to have an economic boom if some of these kids can get out and start working with having these internships. We have an industry already, you know, with chili, with the farmer Jay Hill, what he's doing in the area. So I believe there's lots of opportunities.
In an agri-science classroom, what are some kinds of questions you can answer with a hydroponic system that students can actually, you know, it goes back to getting hands-on experience. What can these students see and test and evaluate that will help them come to their own conclusions about the value of hydroponics?
I think just in itself, having something that's innovative. You know, I think in the education is we need to start investigating, and we need to start sharing things, and we need to start giving students an opportunity to experiment and to experience, you know, hydroponics. Yeah, whether it's whatever, approved or disapproved, how it's viewed. I think by just the fact that the students are going to try something that's innovative, will kind of get people start talking about alternatives. And, you know, we need to have this mindset where we're all going to be looking for some alternatives. And I think by having this project, I mean, the kids are going to be able to do sampling, and they're going to be looking at pH, and they're going to be testing for minerals, and they're going to be testing for, you know, using different types of fertilizers, and looking at, you know, how we control pests and insects. And I think by doing that and having that experience, that will carry over into the soil realm. So I think just by opening up the opportunity to investigate other alternatives and other sources, and let the kids, you know, come to their own conclusion.
For myself, as a researcher, it was that experimentation that drew me to recognize that what I was being taught in agriculture was not holding true long-term sustainably in the environment. Hands-on learning and trial by error get you to the bottom of the problem much more quickly.
And what perfect opportunity in a school setting where you don't have huge, you know, economical losses. You know, it's an opportunity for low risk for these students to try something different. And, you know, the students are going to, they just get so excited. You know, that passion and that excitement is going to carry over to the adults. So having that opportunity for the kids to even share what they're doing at school and look at what we're looking at, it plants a seed. It plants a seed for experimenting and letting the community know that it's okay. We're doing this. Look at what we found. You know, and I think that's how inventions come about. That's how we discover things. Hey.
Libby, I have a question.
Okay.
Hey, it's good to see you, by the way.
Good to see you too.
As an educator, what kind of controls do you have over the curriculum, or do you have to work within some kind of guidelines?
You do have to work within some guidelines. You know, the state, I'm sure you've heard all education, the horrors about, you know, what's going on and how our hands are kind of tied to some things. You can do both. It takes a lot, but some of the things I just cover, you know, the kids stay after school. Some of the things, if we don't get done with our curriculum, we have kids that stay after school. We have competition. I was also highly active in the FFA organization at the school, and we had competition. So as far as what our mission is, we are supported wholly with programs that we want to do. Like monetarily, the school does not have the funding for that. So it's a fight. I mean, I just said last week, we were working on a grant through the county to try to even get this hydroponic system, you know, up and going. So we have to be innovative. We need to go out and seek support from other avenues. And, you know, the school does allow us to do that. So it goes together. It combines. The pieces will fit together. You can do both. So.
What kind of outlets do you see for private support and private investment within the school? You did mention a farmer who is contributing,
right,
to the program.
Yeah, and right now we don't have you know, monetary support, but we do have, there's a nursery that's down the street, and they do provide, you know, field trips. The kids can go and visit. They've hired some of our students. They're willing to do internships, just like this other farmer, Mr. Hill. I'm sure he's willing to do internships. So that's what we see in the future.
Okay.
Support for the students to do that. And with the farmers market, you know, we want the students to, I mean, that's just a student thing. Let them take the ball and run with it and have them come up with ideas. You know, I see actually the whole school getting involved. We have a culinary arts program. You know, those students in there, they could bake bread, or they can, you know, have a coffee bar for the farmers market. the art students. We have incredible artists at our school. It would be an outlet for them to sell some of their product. So I think once the community starts seeing this and seeing some of our students and seeing how our students interact with them, they'll be more willing to support our students, hire our students. You know, again, that networking support.
We've got time maybe for one more question.
I have an announcement,
Okay.
if I might, if no other questions. So in February, I'm going to say February 4th, we got Dr. Mary, as I affectionately call her, going to be coming out to Colorado and talking about her microbe class. And then we have another gentleman showing up who teaches, we're going to call it biological farming, but so instead of avoiding the organic label or the conventional label or the GMO label, just gardening with and farming with nature. And he's really big into microbes and minerals as well. And he teaches off of an Albrecht system, which was a system that kind of got purged from the university systems once we decided to go with the petrochemical model. So he's going to be there teaching a 2-day class. And so that would be something that I'd love for teachers to come in and attend and learn and then pass on to their students if they
awesome.
so choose. It's a very interesting course, but I'll also say it's also available on YouTube. Thirdly, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joel Wallach is going to be in the Denver area the same time Mary is going to be. And so we're going to have access to him as well. And the research he's done concerning nutrition and the importance of minerals as well. So it's going to be an exciting time. So mark it on your calendar. We'll be coming out with some announcements on that a little later. And so I'm excited about that. Thank you. That's all I have.
I think it would be really good for some of the teachers to get involved. So we'll definitely put the invite out to them because they can bring the information back to the students. And I mean, that's how this starts, you know, just communicating and connecting people and building these relationships, you know, and it takes a while to build relationships, but I think at Gadsden, we're kind of at a domino effect right now. Things are really coming together and moving. So.
Yeah, you know, I think it's from what I've seen on the outside looking in. I know it's been an uphill battle. There are a lot of community factors and policy factors that just make it difficult to work outside of the school. And yet, the farmers in the valley have kind of come through and just started supporting what the group at Gadsden High is trying to do to maintain an agricultural program, even when legislation is kind of working towards more academic, standard academic disciplines. So it's been interesting to watch, and certainly we're behind you guys, Libby.
Well, the communication is a must. We all need to talk to each other. We all need to come to a common ground of, you know, what's the problem, and let's come up with some solutions. You know,
and that's exactly what we're about here.
It's interesting.
So
that's exactly what we're trying to do with these online presentations and interviews. It's just try to open up that dialogue, because I think the average person on the street doesn't really understand what's happening in the food system and what's impacting nutrition.
Right.
And we're not connecting our health to our nutrition. People believe that you're sick because it's something in your genes, or it's something, you know, bad luck, you got exposed to a germ in the environment. And while those factors influence it, probably the biggest driving force we're seeing right now is the lack of nutrients in the food system. So, and that's because many of us do not understand where the food is coming from, or what has to happen in the processing and distribution and delivery and preparation services to ensure that those nutrients stay in there.
But also to address the economy of it too. You know,
Exactly.
we all need to start this dialogue of, you know, I'm sure a lot of farmers are just, you know, we can't afford to do the right thing, or we can't afford to do this. So, you know, if we just start talking and we look at the situation or the problems that we're having, and everybody needs to talk, and you need to put all of your, you know, the squabbling, and everybody wants the same thing. You know, when you come down to it, it's just how do we open up those lines of communication to where everybody has a say, and then coming together as a team to suggest or even try different things. You know, like this whole hydroponics. This is a beautiful opportunity for these students to learn and experiment and come up with their own conclusions, and, you know, talk to local people in the community about it, of what they're trying. You know, if the adults, what do they say? The kids sometimes change the minds of the adults just by
Exactly.
passion and their enthusiasm into, hey, you know, we really need to do this. We really need to be concerned about our soil and the nutrients
Exactly.
and our
Exactly.
environment. And
Libby, thank you
So-
so much for presenting today. I want to thank everybody who joined us. Great questions.
thanks, Glenn.
Thank you all. Very
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mary.
Libby.
Okay.